people talk about the issues I just mentioned. They are John Perkins, Sigurður Jóhannesson, who is an economist, and Hjalmar Gíslason, who is an entrepreneur and a data miner. I stumbled into the book of John Perkins at an airport somewhere in Europe when it came out in 2004 or 5, and I started reading it and I couldn't stop, and I thought, goodness, could the world we live in really be like this? And then I spent a considerable amount of time investigating whether John Perkins was a real person. Well, here he is. The reason why he's here today is that Dreamland, the book by Andri Snær Magnússon, has been filmed now as a documentary, and the premiere for the public will be on Wednesday at Háskólabíó. Anywhere else? Smaller Bio as well. And his books have been brought into to various bookshops in Reykjavik, including Stúdentabóksalan, which is upstairs, and they will be open until 7 o'clock if you would like to buy books and get them signed by John Perkins. I was hoping that the Minister of the Environment would be here to set this discussion, but she is obviously stuck at some meeting in Parliament. So without further ado, I'd like to invite John Perkins to come and speak to us.
Thank you. I really appreciate this. It's a wonderful pleasure and honor to be here amongst you and in this country that I think is going to be assuming an amazing role in world leadership. I'll talk about that a little bit more. But first, I really want to thank the University of Iceland for having me here, and of course, Ground Control Productions that made the film, and Andre, who wrote the book, and Siggy and Hannah, who've been escorting me around so much since I've been to your wonderful country. This is my first time here, and I'm deeply impressed, not just by the country and its resources, but the people. It's wonderful to be among people who are so attuned to what's going on in the world, at least the ones I've been meeting with have, and then I'm sure everybody in this room is. So what I'd really like to talk about today is that I feel that we are in a true revolution. We are part of that revolution, and you people who are students here particularly are going to be deeply, deeply involved in it. And I'm a little bit envious of you, I have to say, because as I'm retiring from the world, you're coming into it, and you're coming into a very, very exciting world, a true revolution. And I think this economic crisis that we're all going through, you here in Iceland are certainly experiencing it, as we are in the United States and in so many places, is necessary. And it's painful, but it's necessary. It's not temporary. It's not a fluke. And we don't want to return to the old ways. We don't want to go back to normal, because normal was a world where less than 5% of the population of this planet lived in the United States and consumed more than 25% of the world's resources. And normal was a world where more than just about half the world's population lived beneath the poverty line. And that's not a model that can be repeated. That's a failure. You can't sell that model to China or India or Latin America or Africa or anywhere else. 5% of the world's population consuming more than 25% of its resources, that's unviable. It's been estimated we need something between 6 and 8 more planet Earths with all the resources we have here and none of the people in order to repeat that model. We can't do that. So it's time to move on to something else, to a new system. And I think that's what's going on now with what we're experiencing in this economic decline. And so you here in Iceland are at the forefront. You're at the cutting edge of this new world. And it may feel a little awkward at times right now because you're going through this economic struggle, as we all are around the world. And yet it's a time of incredible opportunity. Crises always create opportunities. And we've seen this revolution swell up from Latin America, where 10 countries recently have voted in presidents, in democratic, peaceful elections, presidents who are saying no more exploitation of our resources by foreign corporations. More than 80% of the population of South America has voted in these presidents who are saying we want to work with foreign corporations in Ecuador to help exploit our oil, but we want our people to get a fair share of the profits. And it's Correa of Ecuador, Morales of Bolivia saying, we want to work with the gas companies to exploit our gas because we know our own companies don't have the technology, but we want our people to get a fair share of the profits that come out of our gas. We're seeing something amazing, 10 countries, and I think it's very, very important that 2 of these countries, Chile and Argentina, have women presidents, as do you. And these women are truly representing the feminine qualities of the human species, the qualities of receptivity and nurturing, which is very important as we move into this next revolution, because we know that in countries where women have a large say in the government, a lot more money is spent on education and health, and a lot less on police forces and armies, and we know that violence goes down under those circumstances. So we're seeing this incredible revolution in Latin America, and we've just experienced one ourselves in the United States, where we've gone from a president who was a very conservative Republican oil man from Texas to the most liberal senator in the Senate, who happens to be African American from Illinois. That's symbolically real important. We don't know what Obama's going to do yet. What we do know is that we, the people, have to basically do it. But we do know that it's a very, very symbolic vote, that a revolution is occurring. And I think it's fair to say that we've really, perhaps from an economic standpoint, been living in a time, a phase of human economic development that we might call the adolescent phase. It's a phase where we felt that in order to get ahead, we had to exploit other people. And we believed in colonialism, exploitation. That's basically an immature, adolescent view. It's time now to move into a mature recognition that we are a very fragile species living on a very, very tiny planet, and that we're all in this together. For the first time in human history, every human being on this planet, in fact, every life form, is confronting the same crises. Never happened before. Never happened before. San Francisco had earthquakes and Indonesia had tsunamis, but they didn't really impact each other much. But for the first time in human history, every one of us is looking at global climate change. Every one of us is facing overpopulation and species extinctions and depletions of resources and increasing prices for food and fuels. Every one of us is facing the possibility of violence from people who are desperate and starving around the planet. For the first time in history, we're all facing these same crises. And for the first time in history, we're all communicating with each other. Through cell phones and the internet, we're talking to people in the middle of the Amazon and the top of the Himalayas. All of us are talking with each other. This has never, ever happened before. I have a 1.5-year-old grandson. My wife was unfortunate to have here with me, and I share this baby. And every time I look down at this young human being, I wonder what the world's going to look like 6 decades from now when he's my age.